don't want to scatter you
There's my
away.
bacon. It's nice and crispy bacon.
I can make a leftover.
Cheese and grits.
You want some more?
No, I'm good. Do you guys have any ketchup?
I want some more. I haven't even gotten anything.
Well, we just
Good call on the ketchup fry.
I say we. I just closed up my booth at the Aiken Fair.
Hello. Come join us. Come see us at the Aiken Waffle House on Richland Avenue. We're the best.
Everybody wants to shout out.
She's sharp.
Okay. So that would have been October the 3rd, 2020. Just finished with Saturday. It's 1 o'clock in the morning now, so I guess it's technically now it's Sunday.
Sidaro.
Yeah. These guys are the caricaturists working at the other caricature booth, the big purple tent, the competition. And while they might be competition, and I'm not happy that they're here, they are still.
I scavenged you some leftovers.
Thank you.
Look
You're
at that.
awesome.
That's all I got for right now, though.
I don't mind. You
Can I get you anything else? I got a brew coffee, and then I'll bring it out to you.
All right, awesome.
can
Thank you.
give me a light,
Yeah.
man.
Anyway, even though I'm not happy they're here, they are friendly guys and they are easy to get along with. So we're all hungry, so we went over to the Waffle House. This is Eric. He's from Chicago.
Hello. How are you?
Yeah, he does a lot of busking and fairs and festivals and actually comic book conventions as well.
That's right.
How long have you been at it?
I've been doing that for about the last 3 or 4 years.
Wow, 3 or 4 years.
Long enough.
Yeah, I've been at it for 10 years. You've been at it. Ernie over here has been at it for 30. Is that right?
30 years. It's my 30th year.
This is your 30th year. So
Well, finishing up my 30th year now. Yeah.
oh wow! And you'll probably recognize Andre. The last time we worked with Andre was at I think the Kissimmee Fair. That was the fair where we tried a bunch of those weird foods at the Korean market.
Yep.
You remember that? Okay. So I figured this would be a good opportunity to do a quick little interview with. Let's start with Ernie over here, because he's worked for a long time at Universal Studios. So he was there when the shutdown happened, and then when things started to reopen. So I wanted to get his story about that whole process.
Well, I wasn't there very much when the shutdown happened. I was on the road working fairs throughout the country all year. For the past 5 years or so, I really haven't been at Universal much, just here and there. But 25 years before that, it was pretty regular. When they came back and opened, I got a call from Tony, who's the owner of the caricature concession there at Fozenards. They've been there forever, and they asked me how I felt about that. I just happened to be home, obviously, because our whole industry here disappeared. I mean, just poofed up in the smoke, gone.
Yeah.
Not even there's just nobody doing anything. So thank God I had some savings. But
yeah,
it was about the time where I really needed it.
2019 was such a good year for all of us. We all kind of had that cookie jar.
Thank goodness.
I brought you some apple mustard, but I forgot to give it to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're the best.
She's awesome.
Yay,
Yes.
thank you.
I'll visit her at Waffle House.
Thank you, yes.
Yes.
So the deal was they were going to open, and they've been closed for about 3 months. Disney stayed closed for 4.5 months in total, but we opened at the beginning of July, well, about the 10th. And what we do is we don't allow them in the booth. We take their picture, and then they get in a queue. You know, we just draw all day from the pictures and our list of whether it's a color double or all that stuff. And it's been pretty neat because there's no longer a line. You don't have to, the guest doesn't feel like they have to sit there and wait in line and waste any of their day instead of waiting in lines for rides, which is what they want to do. And it's kind of worked out. It's different though, drawing from pictures all day is different, but it's kind of like you just kind of work by yourself, and you just got to get used to turning around and taking more orders as you're drawing all day. So it's a different rhythm, but you pick up on it.
Okay, so when you don't actually take the pictures from like a saved picture on a cell phone. You like actually
I prefer not to. I want to take the picture so I can get the right angle for myself. I know the picture that I need in order to make it a good one. And I usually let them see it afterwards, but I'm pretty quick about that because I found that if you just let them sit there and dig through their phone, you're just going to have to sit there and look at it for about 3 hours while they just can't figure out how they just lost that one picture.
Scroll.
Or they hand you a picture that looks nothing like them,
Yeah, a
which,
terrible
whatever.
angle picture or blurry
or
or
it just doesn't look anything like him.
bad
And that's why I
lighting,
love
yeah.
it. Who knows? But
Yeah.
so nowadays I just take the picture.
And so are you using a tablet to take the picture and work from?
No, I just use my phone. Some of the artists use a tablet. I just use my phone. And have my
I'd
phone
be
right
using
here.
a tablet.
Yeah.
I like the nice big picture on a
I've
tablet.
got my tablet with me usually, but I don't like pulling it out to do that sort of thing because people want to grab it and get their germs all over it.
Oh. So, if you're taking orders, is there a chance that you could get overwhelmed and take more orders than you can actually draw?
Yes, if you don't know yourself pretty well, that can happen. And it has happened a couple of times to some of the newbies
Right.
this year, just because they overestimate what they can do. But so far, I've never been overwhelmed. So far,
So when that happens, do they just like pass the extra work off to an artist that doesn't
that'll
has a little
happen.
extra?
That'll happen sometimes. Mostly, we're working almost by ourselves because somebody will come in and open, and then you come in like 3 hours later. I usually close, and they leave pretty close to after I get there usually. So,
Okay.
I mean, I'm almost at the stand up by myself all day, pretty much. Pretty much.
Is there any like forecast on when you'll be able to get people back into the booth, or is that something they're
I think this is the new normal for now.
really?
I think that the CDC is letting us be open and not giving them that big of a hard time because they are so strict and it is so crazy and there is so many people looking at whether your mask is covering your nose and all that stuff.
Yeah,
I mean, they're walking around. There's a full Gestapo, totally just wanting to see
Hey,
what people are
cover
doing.
your nose.
Yeah, it's really like that. And
Really?
all the employees are encouraged to say, if they see something like, hey,
Really?
it's
Okay.
like that's the only reason the CDC is letting us be open, or Disney, or any place like this, like what we got going on now.
Right.
Then all those rules have to be in place, or they're not really allowed to let
So
you do it.
for the foreseeable future.
Right. I've accepted it. I've worked an entire Florida summer with a mask on. It sucked. But
It
I got
sucks.
used to it. Got used to it.
But yeah,
2020.
welcome to 2020. All right, so what are we up to? We're up to 7 minutes. Something else I like to do whenever I'm interviewing a new artist, a memorable story from, like, let's say a weird reject or request or something like that. Anything that sticks out in your mind.
Yeah, here's a great one.
Okay.
This one is from 24 years ago.
24 years ago.
Roughly, it was about 98, 97, 23 years ago. So we're at the stand. Everybody's drawn. There's 4 people at the stand. This is the Lombard's Landing stand at Universal Studios, which is in the San Francisco section, which is right next to where the new Harry Potter Diagon Alley is now, but it used to not be there. Anyway, so we're all drawing, and my buddy Andy is right to my right here, and then there's another guy on the other side of him, and there's a guy over here too. And Andy's drawing and talking to this guy, and I just noticed that behind me there's this crowd forming and making these weird noises, these, kind of not the usual kind of vibe that's back there where they're like, yeah, or that looks just like him, or that looks nothing like him, or whatever it is. They're just kind of talking amongst themselves and like, and doing this weird stuff. So I kind of start looking over to see what's going on. And gotta preface this, Andy is he's a little dude. His feet would dangle, and he could barely see over the desk. We use these 45-degree angled
I'll take one.
desks,
Last
and
Can't have too much before bed.
and he could barely see over it. So he'd be like doing this all the time, right? Well, anyway, that's important to the story.
Oh, that's all right, man.
So
As long as it goes in the
anyway,
cup.
I look over at this guy and then Andy's drawing. Okay, and I inspect the situation and I look over and see most of us caricaturists sometimes will have a default thing that we do. Andy's was if you're doing nothing, he drew you like this. Be like, peace.
Right.
That was you. And so I look at the drawing, and that meant nothing to me right away because Andy draws everybody like that. And I look at the guy, and I look back, and all of a sudden it clicks. This guy doesn't have a right arm at all. And he's just got
That's hilarious.
Oh no.
This guy has no right arm, 0, like armless.
Oh my word. Okay. So when
Fun story.
when he showed him the drawing, did he say, dude, you might have to redo that?
Well, I start flipping out like I'm watching a really crazy, embarrassing sitcom scene. That feeling you get where you're just like, turn off the TV or something. Back in the '80s or whatever. It's so embarrassing, like the most embarrassing thing ever. I'm just like, oh god, because I'm like that. And then my friend on the other side realizes what's going on, and we're like, Andy, Andy. And Andy's like, what? Oh, yeah, no.
So he couldn't really see over the
He couldn't see, you know, and just
over the drawing
got-
table and
that's-
didn't
that's
notice
it.
it.
And he's having such a great conversation with this guy. You know, the guy's kind of starting to figure out like what the hell's going on back there, and everybody's just the crowd just keeps forming, and everybody who walks up, people are like, this guy's getting drawn without he's got no right arm. This guy's like, you know, check it out. And it's just this horrible like, and it's just growing and building and building. And I start flipping out because I'm done with my drawing and like nobody else is wanting to get drawn. I'm like, hey, wait, nobody's waiting. So I get away from it because like it's just too much. Like I'm seething at this point. It's crazy. So I ran behind the crowd just to see what's going on. I'm trying to get the guy's attention to try to preface him like with what's going on. And I'm just like, what the hell, and this and that. So anyway, Andy shows it to me. Boom, there it is. You know, in the hole. And the guy's like, man, is that supposed to be funny? And of course, you know, Andy has no idea what's going on still. So Andy's response to this is like, well, yeah, it's supposed to be funny. It's a caricature. It's supposed to be hilarious. You know, it's a funny drawing. There you go. He's like, well, I don't really think that's very funny. And the whole crowd, I mean, there's just pin drop. Everybody's knuckling. I mean, there's people.
This is in poor taste.
I'm just like, oh, the other caricature artist finally, like, Greg's like, Andy, he doesn't have a right arm, Andy. You drew him with the right arm. Doing that, he doesn't have one. That's what's going on. Andy's like, oh, sir, I'm sorry. And then we all come in and we all have to explain to this poor guy, like, look, man, we've been, like, flipping. He can't see over, like, it, you know, you see his legs dangling down there. And finally the guy starts laughing. It turns into this big thing and whatever. And the whole crowd thinks it was just like a stage thing and they're looking for the cameras and all that at this point. They thought it was like, seriously, they thought it was a show that was going on at Universal that they were like part of, like, this has got to be a setup. It's got to be, you know, because it's a big crowd and whatever. So that was a fun moment. Anything,
Oh, wow.
I do have many other stories, none of which I can really say while
Yeah,
we recorded it.
not
you know?
YouTube
Like,
friendly.
you guys don't want to hear about that stuff.
Yeah.
But that's a fun story.
Wow. Well, thank you,
Hey,
Ernie.
you're welcome,
Thank
guys.
you, Ernie. Awesome. All right, so say goodbye to
Peace, yo.
Andre. Probably have him in some more videos throughout the week.
Adios.
Got to get some stories from Eric at some point, I'm sure. Would that be okay if we do that some other
Sure.
time?
It won't be
Okay.
as cool as his story.
That's
That's hard to top. That's a good one.
All right, guys. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up like button. Subscribe if you haven't
up.
already.
Out here trying to make
Turn
this
on
money.
notifications. That's right.
Trying
Trying.
real hard.
I will talk to you down in the comments and look forward to seeing you on the next one. Goodbye.